Under the red glow of the on-air sign, Marcus Hale leaned back in his chair and adjusted his headphones. Midnight Radio, his small-town talk show, had never been anything more than a passion project. He took calls, played the occasional record, told a few jokes. It was lonely work, but it kept him company. That night, the phone lines had been unusually quiet. The usual voices, Connie with her conspiracy theories, Pete with his drunken rambling, hadn't called in. Marcus was filling the silence with a story about the full moon when the line buzzed. "Midnight Radio," Marcus said, flicking the switch. "You're live," Static hissed. Then a man's voice, low and uneven. "He's going to kill her." Marcus frowned. "What's that?" "She doesn't know it yet," the caller whispered. "But he's standing behind her with a knife. Right now, she's making tea. She doesn't see him," Marcus chuckled nervously. Prank calls weren't new. "All right, buddy, very funny. Try to keep it PG, huh?" "No joke," the voice said flatly. "Check tomorrow's paper. She lives on Sycamore Street." The line went dead. Marcus sat there, heart thudding. His finger hovered over the switchboard, waiting for the man to call back. But the silence stretched. He tried to shake it off, slipping into his usual easy tone. "Folks, looks like we've got ourselves a would-be screenwriter calling in. Keep the knives in the kitchen, all right?" He laughed, but his hands felt cold. The next morning, he bought a coffee and unfolded the Gazette. Woman found dead in her kitchen. Sycamore Street. Resident stabbed. Marcus's stomach dropped. The article described her body discovered near the kettle, the weapon left behind, exactly as the caller had said. That night, he told himself it was coincidence. He sat behind the mic, lines open, voice steady. But deep down, he waited for the phone to ring. It did. This time, the voice was calmer. "Do you believe me now?" Marcus swallowed hard. "Who is this? How do you know these things?" "I see them," the man said simply, "as they happen." "Are you the killer?" Marcus asked, a chuckle. "No, but I'll keep you company, Marcus. I'll give you stories. Isn't that what you want? A show worth listening to?" Marcus muted his mic, heart hammering, then unmuted, forcing a laugh for the audience. "Looks like our prankster's back, folks. Some people really commit to the bit." But off-air, his hand shook as he set down the receiver. The third night, the caller came again. This time the details were worse. A man strangled in his car outside a grocery store. Marcus scribbled down every word, every description. He didn't want to believe it, but when the news broke, it was all there. And then the voice said something that made his blood run cold. "They're not random, Marcus. Each of them touched your life. The woman on Sycamore, she was your teacher. The man at the store, you bought your cigarettes from him every week. Don't you see? This is your story." Marcus slammed the phone down, his throat tight. But when he looked at the switchboard, the line was still active, the faint hum of breathing coming through. "Don't hang up on me," the caller whispered. "We're just getting started." Marcus barely slept. Every time his eyes closed, he saw headlines. His teacher on Sycamore Street, pale and lifeless. The grocer slumped over his steering wheel. Their faces bled into the glowing numbers of his alarm clock. By the time the red on-air light blinked on the following night, his voice felt raw. He welcomed listeners with his usual half-hearted banter, but his hands trembled against the microphone. He prayed the lines would stay silent. At 12:27 a.m., "Line 2 lit up, Midnight Radio," Marcus said, the words sour on his tongue. "You didn't read today's paper," the caller murmured. Marcus froze. "I saw enough." "You saw the death," the voice said, calm and steady. "But not the message. He scratched it into the glass before he died. One word, Hale, Marcus's last name." His chest tightened. "You expect me to believe that?" "I don't expect anything," the caller replied. "I just tell you what's true." Marcus cut the line, slamming the switch. His headphones hissed in silence. He turned his mic back on. "Apologies, folks. Seems we've got a regular horror enthusiast wasting airtime. Let's move on." He laughed, but it cracked halfway. For the next half hour, he played old jazz records, trying to fill the void. But when the song ended, Lean 2 was glowing again. Marcus hesitated, then picked up. "What do you want from me?" "You don't understand yet," the caller said. "You think I'm tormenting you, but I'm helping. You're the only one who can warn them." "Warn who?" The line crackled. "Tonight's victim." Marcus felt his throat close. "She's leaving work now. She's locking the back door of the diner on Main Street. A man waits in the alley. He has rope. Stop!" Marcus snapped, but the voice kept going. detail after horrifying detail, until Marcus ripped his headphones off. His ears rang with silence, but the switchboard light was still on, flickering faintly like a heartbeat. He stared at it for a long time before finally calling the police. Detective Rowan arrived 20 minutes later, trenchcoat damp from the drizzle outside. She was tall, sharp-eyed, and unimpressed. Marcus explained everything. The calls, the deaths, the warnings. She listened, arms crossed, until he was finished. "So this mystery voice just predicts murders," she said finally. "They don't predict," Marcus muttered. "They describe. As they happen." Rowan's jaw tightened. "And yet, every victim has a connection to you. Teacher, grocer, now this waitress. Convenient, isn't it?" Marcus's stomach dropped. "You think I'm making this up?" "I think," Rowan said, stepping closer, "that if another body turns up, I'll have no choice but to put you at the top of my list." She left without another word. Marcus sat in the silence, the hum of the studio equipment pressing in. Then the phone rang again. "You told the police," the caller whispered. Marcus's skin prickled. "Stay away from me. You made a mistake," the voice said. "You let someone else into our conversation. That won't happen again." The line went dead. Marcus sat frozen, the mic still live, the red light glaring at him. His voice cracked as he tried to cover. That's enough calls for tonight, folks. We'll be back after this track." He reached for a record, but his hand wouldn't stop shaking, because in the reflection of the studio window, he could see it. The phone's switchboard light was glowing again, this time on every single line. All of them lit up, all of them waiting. Marcus stared at the switchboard. Every line was alive, glowing like a row of watchful eyes. He'd never had more than 2 callers waiting at once, not in the years he'd run the show. His hand hovered above line 1. He told himself not to answer, to cut the feed, to walk out of the studio and never return. But some instinct, morbid, irresistible, forced him to flip the switch. "Midnight radio," Marcus said, voice hoarse. Static crackled. Then a woman's voice trembling, "He's here." Marcus's stomach turned. "Who's there?" "He's at the door," she whispered. "He's trying the lock." The sound of rattling came through the line, sharp and metallic, followed by her muffled sobs. "Please, someone help me." The connection went silent. Marcus slammed the switch down. His breath caught, chest heaving. He flipped to line 2. Another voice. Male this time, frantic. "He's in the hallway. I can hear his footsteps. He's coming closer." "God, please!" The phone cut to dead air. Marcus stared in horror as the other lines continued to glow, waiting. Each call was the same, a stranger describing their final moments as if reporting live from their own murder scene. Different voices, different places, but all of them terrified, choking, then vanishing mid-scream. By the time the last light went dark, Marcus was drenched in sweat. The silence in the studio was unbearable. He stood up, chair scraping, and turned to the door, only to find Detective Rowan standing there. "Arms folded. You look pale," she said coolly. "Busy night?" Marcus blinked at her. "How did you hear any of that?" "Hear what?" Rowan asked, stepping inside. "You've been talking to yourself for 20 minutes. Marcus's stomach dropped. No, you didn't hear the calls?" "Calls?" Rowan glanced at the switchboard. "None of these lines are connected, Hale. Half of them are dead circuits. Haven't been used in years." Marcus turned slowly. The board was still glowing, every light alive. But Rowan's expression told him she saw nothing. "Maybe you should get some rest," she said. "Too many late nights can make a man see things." When she left, Marcus sank into his chair, staring at the blinking lights only he could see. The phone rang again. This time, it was the caller. "The one from before. You see now, don't you?" The voice murmured. "It's not about them. It's about you. Each one is connected, and soon they'll see you too." Marcus clenched the receiver. "Why me?" "Because you're the host," the caller said. "And every broadcast needs an ending." The line clicked dead. Marcus tried to steady his breathing. He rubbed his face, muttering, "It's not real. It's not real." Then his eyes fell on the paper Detective Rowan had left on his desk. An evidence photo, folded in half, slipped from her file. He picked it up with shaking hands. It was a grainy shot of the grocer's car, windows fogged, but scratched faintly into the glass was a single word, barely visible under the flash. Hale. The same letters the caller had mentioned. Marcus dropped the photo, bile rising in his throat. He stumbled back, nearly tripping over his chair. When he looked up, the on-air sign flickered. For a split second, the red glow shifted, forming letters that weren't there before. On Hale. The light steadied again, humming above him. The switchboard lit all at once. Every line, waiting, and then, one by one, the lines began blinking in unison, like a pulse, like a countdown. Marcus didn't move. The lights on the board blinked in rhythm, steady as a heartbeat, filling the studio with their silent demand. He wanted to pull the plug, rip out the wires, smash the damn thing to pieces, but his body refused. His hand lifted the receiver almost on its own. "Midnight radio," Marcus whispered. "You can't keep pretending," the caller's voice hummed, smooth now, almost soothing. "Every broadcast has a truth. Yours is written in blood," Marcus swallowed hard. "You're insane. Whoever you are, you're playing with me." "No, I'm reminding you," the voice said. "You've forgotten. Convenient, isn't it? How memory bends when it hurts too much." The words tightened something in Marcus's chest. He felt dizzy, like the studio was tilting. "What are you talking about?" he rasped. "Sycamore Street," the caller murmured. "Do you remember sneaking out of class? Do you remember her, your teacher, telling you she'd report you to the principal for smoking behind the gym? Do you remember saying just once, 'I wish she was dead'?" Marcus's blood ran cold. "That was," he faltered, "that was decades ago." "But you said it," the caller pressed. "And she died." "Just as you wished." Marcus gripped the edge of the desk. "Coincidence," the caller chuckled. Then the grocer. "Remember his refusal? How many times did he shame you for buying cigarettes? Called you a waste, a deadbeat. Didn't you once tell him, 'I hope you choke on your own smoke'?" Marcus's throat constricted. "And now," the voice whispered, "he's dead in his car, choked, just like you said." Marcus slammed the receiver down, heart thundering. He paced the studio, muttering, "No, no, no!" But then the door banged open. Detective Rowan stormed in, jaw set. "You didn't tell me the victims knew you personally," she said coldly. Marcus froze. What? No, I didn't. You think I don't run checks?" The teacher, the grocer, both had ties to you. Now tonight, a waitress, strangled in the alley behind her diner. Witnesses say she served you 3 nights a week. Rowan narrowed her eyes, starting to look less like a coincidence and more like a pattern. Marcus staggered back, horrified. "You think Rowan, I didn't kill anyone." "Then explain this." She tossed a file onto his desk. Inside was another crime scene photo. The diner's back door, paint chipped, light still on, and carved into the wooden frame, just above the handle. Hale. Rowan's gaze bored into him. "Why is your name at every scene?" Marcus's hands shook. "I don't know. Or maybe you do." Her voice was sharp. "Maybe this whole radio show is your alibi. While you're on air, no one suspects you're out there." "That's not..." Marcus faltered, clutching the desk. The phone rang again. Rowan frowned. "You going to answer that?" Marcus shook his head, sweat dripping down his temple. The phone rang louder. Rowan stepped forward, grabbed the receiver and held it to her ear. "Detective Rowan," for a moment silence. Then Marcus watched her face change. Her eyes widened, color draining from her cheeks. Slowly she lowered the phone, staring at him. "What did he say?" Marcus whispered. Rowan's lips barely moved. "He said, 'My name.'" The phone slipped from her hand, clattering onto the desk. The line hissed, then the voice came through, loud enough for them both to hear. "You see now, it's not just Marcus, it's all of you, one by one, and soon, it's Rowan's turn." Rowan backed toward the door, her hand instinctively on her holster. Marcus stood frozen in place, because in the reflection of the studio window, behind Rowan's shoulder, a shadow moved, tall, silent, and smiling. Rowan spun around, hand on her gun, but the corner of the studio was empty. Only the faint hum of equipment filled the silence. Marcus stayed frozen in his chair, eyes wide. "You saw it too, didn't you?" Rowan's hand trembled on her holster. "I saw something." She pulled herself together, jaw tightening. "Doesn't change the facts, Hale. 3 victims, all tied to you. Now my name gets whispered on the air? You expect me to think you're innocent?" Marcus slammed his palm against the desk. "If I was guilty, why would I sit here every night listening to this madness? You think I want my name carved into bodies and doors?" The phone rang again. Both of them jumped. Marcus whispered, "Don't answer it." Rowan glared at him. "If this is the bastard behind it, I'm answering." She snatched the receiver. "This is Detective Rowan. Say what you have to say." The line crackled. Then the voice came, lower than before, vibrating through the air. You can't stop what's already written. Rowan's lips tightened. Where are you? If you're so damn powerful, tell me where you're hiding. A pause. Then the whisper. I'm in the station. Right now. Rowan stiffened. Her free hand clenched. You're lying. Check your logs, the voice purred. Look at the security cameras. You'll see me standing behind you. Rowan slammed the phone down, her face pale. She glanced at the window reflection again. Nothing. Marcus leaned closer, whispering, You believe me now, don't you? Rowan shook her head hard, forcing control back into her voice. No, I believe you're involved. Maybe not directly, maybe not consciously, but you're the thread tying all of this together. Marcus pushed away from the desk. I'm not the thread, I'm the puppet. Can't you see? Whoever this is, they're inside my life. They know my past, my thoughts, my regrets. And now they know you too. The studio went dark. Every light snapped off at once. The hum of the equipment died. Rowan drew her gun, flashlight clipped to the barrel. Stay behind me. Marcus's breath came fast, shallow. In the pitch black, the red glow of the on-air sign flickered back to life. But the letters had shifted again. On death. The phone rang in the darkness. Rowan answered with a trembling hand. The voice spoke clearly this time, echoing through the studio speakers as if the walls themselves carried it. 2 more, it said. Then the broadcast ends. The line went dead. The power blinked back on, lights humming. Rowan scanned the room, gun raised. Nothing. Marcus slumped in his chair, shaking. 2 more? What does that mean? Rowan holstered her gun, face grim. It means we're running out of time. She leaned in, lowering her voice. Hale, if you're hiding something, now's the time. Anything from your past. Anyone you crossed. Anyone who'd want revenge. Tell me. Marcus's throat felt tight. I don't know. I was angry back then. Said things I didn't mean. But I never... The phone rang again, cutting him off. Rowan grabbed it before he could move. This time, the voice wasn't a stranger's. It was Marcus's. Detective Rowan. The familiar tone purred. He's lying. He remembers. He knows exactly what he did. And when I'm finished with him... You're next. Rowan's eyes locked on Marcus. He shook his head violently. That's not me. That's not my voice. But the echo was unmistakable. The studio filled with the sound of Marcus's laughter, cruel and mocking, bouncing off the walls until the real Marcus collapsed to his knees. Clutching his head, Rowan lowered the phone slowly, her face a storm of fear and suspicion. And for the first time, Marcus wondered if maybe, just maybe, the voice was right. Rowan didn't move for a long moment. The receiver in her hand felt heavy, slick with sweat, and the sound of Marcus's false laughter still echoed in the studio's walls. Her eyes stayed fixed on him, every muscle coiled tight. Marcus rocked back and forth on the floor, his palms pressed against his ears. It's not me, it's not me, it's not me, he muttered. His voice was weak, almost childlike. Rowan crouched down, leveling her gaze with his. Look at me, Hale. He didn't. His eyes stayed locked on the stained carpet, as though afraid of what he'd see if he looked anywhere else. Rowan's tone hardened. Look at me. Finally, his bloodshot eyes met hers. You heard it, Rowan said flatly. You know that was your voice. Marcus swallowed, a bead of sweat rolling down his temple. It wasn't me. Something's using me, twisting me. Haven't you figured that out by now? I'm the radio detective, not the broadcaster. Rowan held his stare. Then let's trace the frequency. She hauled him to his feet, ignoring his shaking legs, and pulled him back to the control desk. Her fingers flew over the console, dragging up the caller ID, signal sources, archived call logs. Most were scrambled, routes bouncing across states, impossible to pin. But one entry caught her eye. A local signal, logged at 1:14 a.m. Rowan leaned closer, her pulse quickening. This one came from here, not out of state, not overseas. Here. Marcus blinked rapidly, fear swelling in his face. From the station? Rowan nodded. Which means your ghost isn't some phantom in the wires. It's flesh and blood. It's someone in this building. The phone rang again, shrill and mocking. Rowan let it ring. Marcus whispered, Answer it, or it won't stop. No, Rowan said, her voice steady. We control the call now, but the phone didn't stop. It rang and rang, each shriek digging deeper into their nerves, until Marcus's hands began to tremble violently. Finally, with a guttural cry, he lunged forward and grabbed the receiver. What do you want from me? He screamed. The studio fell silent. Then, slowly, a familiar voice oozed through the line. Marcus's voice again, but younger, more vibrant, tinged with arrogance. You remember me? The voice said. You remember what you did? 2002, the fire, the screaming. Or have you really buried it that deep? Marcus froze. His lips parted, but no words came out. His whole body seemed to cave in on itself. Rowan straightened, her instincts flaring. What fire? The younger Marcus laughed bitterly. He hasn't told you? Of course not. He can't even tell himself. Go on, Marcus. Tell the detective about the night you left them inside. The night you locked the door. Marcus dropped the phone, his knees buckling. He collapsed to the floor again, shaking his head violently. No, I didn't. I didn't mean to. Rowan bent down, grabbing his collar. Listen to me, what fire? Who did you leave? His eyes brimmed with tears, his voice hoarse. It was years ago. I was young, stupid. I broke into the old factory with some friends. We thought it was fun, a dare, but something went wrong. There was a fire. I got out. They didn't. Rowan's blood ran cold. How many? Marcus's lips trembled. 3. The exact number of victims so far. The phone clicked back to life, loud enough for both to hear. 3 before, the voice whispered. 3 now. Balance must be kept. 2 more, detective, unless you want to take his place. Rowan's chest tightened. The countdown wasn't random. It was Marcus's past coming back to life. She forced her voice calm. Who are you? What do you want with him? The voice hissed. Justice. The line went dead. Marcus buried his face in his hands. It's them. It has to be them. My friends. They never left. They've been waiting all this time. Rowan felt the air shift around them, heavy and suffocating. Logic screamed to dismiss his words, but her gut whispered otherwise. The victims, the messages, the eerie timing. It all fit a pattern she couldn't explain away. She took a slow breath. Then we find out who or what is doing this. But you're telling me everything. Names, dates, every detail. Marcus's shoulders sagged. You'll hate me. Good, Rowan shot back. Hating you might keep me alive. For the next hour, Marcus unraveled the story. The factory on the edge of town, the dare, the locked door. His friends pounding on the walls as the fire spread. The guilt he buried beneath years of radio waves and confessions from strangers. By the end, Rowan sat stiffly, jaw clenched. 3 friends, she muttered. 3 victims, 2 more to go. Marcus looked at her with hollow eyes. And then me. Before Rowan could answer, the lights flickered again. The on-air sign glowed red. The speakers crackled to life, and both of them froze as a distorted sound filled the room. Screaming, the kind of screams Marcus had described. Desperate fists pounding against doors, cries for help cut short by smoke and flame. Rowan pressed her palms over her ears, but it didn't stop. The sound vibrated through the floor, the walls. They're bones! Marcus collapsed to the floor, sobbing. They're here. They never left me. I hear them every night. Rowan's stomach churned. It's not them. It's someone making it sound like them. But even as she said it, doubt gnawed at her words. The phone rang again. Rowan's hand hovered over it. If I answer, I play their game. If I don't, someone else dies. Marcus lifted his face, streaked with tears and ash from memories that never left. Detective, you don't understand. His voice cracked into a whisper. They were locked in. By me. The phone kept ringing, and Rowan realized she might not just be hunting a killer. She might be standing next to him. Rowan moved like a woman whose feet knew every inch of distrust. She had Marcus seated opposite her in the interrogation room. Coffee gone cold. The fluorescent light hanging overhead like an accusation. He kept rubbing his temples, whispering fragments of memory she couldn't trust. Names, dates, smoke, running hands on a locked door. Sometimes he would look at her with a clarity that frightened her, the boy inside him peering out. Other times he would be hollow and distant, like someone listening to a voice on a frequency only he could hear. You tell me everything, Rowan said, voice flat. From the beginning. No omissions, he tried. He kept returning to the old factory. How the roof had sagged that night. How a single discarded cigarette had sparked the dry insulation. How panic moved through the stairwell like a wave. He described 3 shapes pressed against corrugated steel, banging on a door that would not open. He mentioned the way the smoke had tasted like iron, the chorus of glass shattering, and the hand he had used to wrench the exit door shut, because he feared the blaze would swallow them all and drag him into something worse than confession. Rowan listened, and with each sentence the knot in her gut tightened until it replaced all the skepticism she had ever worn. The victims and the past lined up and formed a pattern too precise to be coincidence. Names, places, motives, guilt. If someone wanted to rebuild a ledger, Marcus's life offered plenty of entries. But motives didn't tell the whole story. Someone had to be turning the ledger into an instrument. You said someone stood behind you, she prompted quietly. Someone who remembers. He looked at her as if the truth were a fragile thing he could pass forward like contraband. Only flashes, a shape in the smoke, then a silence that followed me afterward. I thought I could forget, Rowan. I thought I could drown it in words, in music, but it keeps coming back. The phone in the processing room sputtered, then cut to life with a sound that made the hairs on both their arms rise. Marcus's old control desk was a few rooms over. Lines and logs would be there. Rowan's mouth tightened. She'd have cause to secure the facility, drag the records, trace signals. That was the rational play. But time was thin. The voice had given them days before. Now she could feel the countdown in the station's bones. "Stay here," she said. "Don't go near the board. If you even look at it, you tell me." He nodded, and when she left the room, she felt as if she pushed through a cloud that wanted to hug her throat. The studio corridor smelled of stale coffee and cooling electronics. On the way to the control room, she stopped and listened. Under the hum of servers, there was a subtler vibration, a residue of sound like a ringing in a long-abandoned bell. It tugged at her memory, at the corners of her hearing where nightmares lodged. She ducked into the processing room, the small cramped space where a handful of tapes and old call-ins lived like fossils. If the caller was routing from inside the building, this would be the place. Cameras fed monitors. One showed the studio's empty chair, another the city street outside. Rowan scanned the feeds until she saw what she hadn't before. A door to the sub-basement ajar in the lower right monitor, a place the station had sealed. Years ago, after the boiler went out of control, a place no living person on payroll would use. She grabbed a flashlight and took the stairs down. The steps smelled of oil and old smoke. The sub-basement was a cathedral of rust. The old furnace, a tangle of pipes, a spool of abandoned cable, and a bank of obsolete equipment. In the back, leaning against a rack, someone moved. Rowan's radio cracked to life in her hand, and she dropped a soft order to dispatch, skimmed across the concrete, and then stopped because the figure was not one she expected. It was a man with skin so browned and puckered by old burns, it looked like reflected tungsten. His hair hung in blackened wisps. One sleeve was pinned shut. His jacket reeked of kerosene and old smoke that a dozen showers would not wash out. He looked like a thing that should have been left behind in the factory, not walking into a radio station trying to unmake a life. "You shouldn't be down here," Rowan said. Her gun hand was steady, but there was an edge of pity she couldn't place. The man smiled, and the smile fell like a crack of glass. "You think I wanted to come back?" he rasped. His voice had a timbre that made her think of broken things. "I was never supposed to leave either, but I walked." He took a step forward. "Name's Evan. Remember me?" Rowan's mind flipped through photos, blueprints, the faces Marcus had muttered about. Evan, one of the three who were supposed to have died in the factory. If history had told a clean story, Evan would have been Ash. Rowan felt the room tilt. "You're alive." "Alive in the way a ghost is alive," Evan said. He held up a charred hand. "I crawled out, I bled, I waited. They all told me it would wash away. But it doesn't wash. It sits like a coal and keeps glowing." "How are you doing this?" Rowan demanded. "How do you know their deaths?" Evan's eyes burned bright. "I know them because I was there. Because the night we died didn't end for me. It looped. I woke each day with smoke in my lungs and thumbs that smelled of other men. I saw Marcus run." He looked at her with a hunger that made her stomach lurch. "He left us." "You want revenge," she said, though the word felt cheap. "You want to make him remember." Evan laughed. "You make it sound noble." He jerked a thumb at the wall lined with a hodgepodge of equipment. Old telephone switches, a battered reel-to-reel, a core of wiring feeding into the station's live patch. Voices are tools. Memory is a weapon. We tie them together and watch the ledger balance. "How did you get into the station?" she asked. "Why now?" Evan's gaze slid toward the ceiling. "Because the station keeps records. Because transmissions save sound like fossils and someone knew how to stir those fossils. I found ways to feed recordings back through the lines. I whisper into the circuits and the city hears me. I tell Marcus the ending, and he listens, and sometimes he acts, and sometimes others act. The ledger hums. It needs its final chord." Rowan thought of the calls describing murders as they were happening. Evan had rehearsed it, staged it. using recordings and cues, turning fate into performance. But then a line of trouble frayed her certainty. Why would Evan ask for Marcus to be notified? Why give warnings that would draw police attention? Unless the warnings were also a net, a way to force the man into a confession, to make him stand in the light of his own crimes until he broke. You set up the calls, and you get off as judge, jury, and executioner, Rowan said. You choose the victims. Evan's peculiar grin softened. A whole lot of people chose a lot of petty cruelties back then. We were kids. I came out half-burned, while Marcus came out with a microphone and a name on his lips. He built a life on forgetting. The ledger insisted the balance be restored. It asked me to close it. Rowan felt a slick of ice run down her spine. You want me to arrest you? He shook his head. You could. Then Marcus would be quietly escorted out. The tapes catalogued. Everyone would pretend it was solved. But that is not how justice works, detective. At least not for the things that scream from the wreckage. He tapped a stack of reels and a tangle of wires. Listen, Rowan edged closer. He threaded a reel into the ancient player, and the room filled with static that cleared into a memory. The echo of a boy laughing, the clack of boots on a metal floor, the lighter's flare that set hay and insulation ablaze. Then another layer, Marcus's childish voice, older now, mocking, saying something reckless. Then the final surge, the chords of a scream that had once curled and been smothered, now amplified and threaded into a loop. You made recordings of us, Marcus whispered from behind her. He stood at the doorway, pale but alive. You used our voices, Evan said. Voices are what they were given. I make them speak now. People listen and people fall. They think it is prophecy. They think it is fate. But fate is only the name the guilty give to the things they cannot fix. Rowan swallowed and went back to the practical knot of it. So, you staged it. Sycamore, the grocer, the waitress. You used old recordings, maybe pressure, maybe a rigged cable. You can't actually foretell. Evan's jaw tightened. My methods are theatrical, but the outcome is not mine to claim. They are undone by their own hands. Marcus remembers, or he does not. Either way, the ledger drinks. Then why send warnings? Rowan demanded. Why not just do it quietly if the only goal is revenge? He shrugged, an old man joking at a funeral. Because I want them to feel it. I want the dread. I want them to know before death comes. You, detective, you wanted the truth, didn't you? You seek endings that make sense. I give them a story. Marcus has been telling stories his whole life. Now he gets to be in one. The station's wiring hummed. Rowan thought about arresting him, cutting the reels, dumping the tapes, rendering his machinery useless. But Evan knew the building the way someone knows the bones of a house. And his fingers were in places she would not get to quick enough. Besides, she suspected that even if she took him into custody, someone else would step into the skeletal roles Evan played. The truth was never so clean. She needed a plan. She needed to stop the next call. She needed Marcus to help her do it. Marcus, who had a radio show, a voice in the night, and a habit of believing in better versions of himself. Help me stop it, she said finally, the words sharp as a ticket punched. Help me stop the calls. Help me find the real people who are being set up. The station's corridors felt colder than the night outside. Detective Rowan stalked through them with her gun drawn, Marcus stumbling behind her. Every shadow seemed alive, every flicker of the fluorescent lights whispering the same silent warning. It's already too late. Rowan shoved open the archive room door. Dust clouded the air, files stacked like towers ready to collapse. If the answer's anywhere, she muttered, it's here. Marcus rubbed his temples, voice low. You heard it, didn't you? That was my voice. But it wasn't me. I've never said those things. Never laughed like that. Rowan scanned the room, then turned on him, eyes sharp. You buried something, Hale. Whoever's behind this, they know it. They're forcing you to face it. Marcus shook his head violently. No, I've forgotten nothing. Rowan slammed a file drawer shut. Liar. The room fell silent. The only sound was Marcus's ragged breathing. Then his shoulders sagged. 15 years ago, he whispered. Rowan's eyes narrowed. Marcus swallowed hard. I was just starting out in radio. We ran this late-night prank show. Cruel humor. We'd pick people, torment them on air, call them with voices, distortions, lies. There was this one caller. She begged us to stop. Said we were ruining her life. His eyes glistened. We didn't stop. And a week later, she was gone. Suicide. They never proved it was us. But I knew. Rowan's stomach tightened. What was her name? Emily Rivers, Marcus whispered. The room's overhead light flickered once, twice, then died. The phone on the archive desk rang. Both froze. Rowan stepped forward, lifted the receiver. The voice came, soft, almost gentle. A woman's voice. You remembered. Marcus staggered back. No, Emily? Rowan whispered. The voice shifted, layered with static. Not Emily, what's left of her. Echoes. You called me until I broke. Now I call you until you do. Marcus dropped to his knees. Please, I was young, stupid. I didn't mean... The laughter spilled through the line again, the same twisted echo of Marcus's own voice. Then it spread, bursting from every speaker in the station, overlapping, hundreds of distorted versions of him laughing in perfect unison. Rowan raised her gun, though there was nothing to aim at. What do you want? She shouted, the cacophony cut off. Silence pressed down, suffocating. Then the voice whispered, 2 more. Him and you. Rowan gritted her teeth. You're not taking me. The lights flared back to life, blinding white. Marcus screamed, clutching his head. The walls vibrated with invisible force. Rowan grabbed him, shook hard. Fight it, Hale! She's feeding off your guilt. Marcus's eyes rolled back, veins bulging. He choked out, I can't. Rowan did the only thing she could. She slapped him hard across the face. Don't let her win! For a heartbeat, silence. Marcus's eyes cleared just slightly. He whispered, help me. The phone rang again. Rowan snatched it up. You want me? Come and take me, the line hissed. Then the voice, calm, almost sweet. Turn around. Rowan spun, her breath caught. In the reflection of the archive window, she saw Marcus standing. But the real Marcus was still collapsed on the floor. The reflection smirked. Eyes black, teeth too sharp. Rowan fired. Glass shattered. The reflection dissolved into shards of shadow. Marcus screamed, the sound ripping out of his chest. He collapsed completely, unconscious. The phone fell silent. The station went dark again. Rowan crouched beside him, pulse racing. Stay with me, damn it. A low hum began, familiar, mechanical. Rowan looked up. The on-air sign glowed faintly red, even with the power cut. Letters shifting. The end. Rowan's blood went cold. Marcus stirred, lips trembling. Is it over? Rowan didn't answer. She stared at the glowing words. Then the phone rang one last time. Her hand hovered. Slowly, she picked it up. The voice whispered, You think this was his story, but it's yours now, detective. I'll be calling you every night. The line clicked dead. The on-air sign blinked out. Rowan stood frozen, the receiver still in her hand, as the realization hit. Marcus had been the vessel, but she had been chosen as the successor, and somewhere in the darkness, the next broadcast was already beginning.